Bureau of Engineering and CRA as well. These are all verbal reports.
Good afternoon, Claire Bowen, Los Angeles Department of City Planning, and I am pleased to report that the environmental impact report, the draft environmental impact report for the Cornfield Arroyo Seco specific plan was released formally for public comment last week on the 22nd of September. The comment period will close on November 21st, and we are going to be holding a public workshop on October 15th at the Goodwill facility. And that will provide folks an opportunity to provide comments if they already have them at that point, either in writing or verbally. They can also present them that day, and also an opportunity to ask us questions. It'll also provide us an opportunity to share with the community what the process is and what the timeline is, and also give them an update on where we are with the redevelopment plan area. And obviously CRA, our partners there, will be there to describe what's been happening with that effort.
Great. What vehicles have you been using for outreach? What has been available to the community to know about this?
We have the website. We have a separate website from the city's website, which has provided a lot of background information and where we've updated folks. We also have a Facebook page. In the past, for our outreach to all of our for all of our workshops, we have been giving flyers in multiple languages to the different schools in the area, those that are located within the plan, but also just those just immediately outside of it, right, so that every student in the area can send flyers home. We've also had flyers given out to all of the residents in the William Mead area, and obviously then also shared the information with the neighborhood councils and done a lot of mailings as well for all of the property owners.
There was a group of students we met with at the Lincoln Heights Senior Center. What's the name of that group? Sika?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they aware of this?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So that would be healthy to have. We have a lot of young people, mostly high school students, getting ready for college, and they had a lot of good questions. I think we're well trained by land use attorneys. So we should be ready.
Yes, we're going to make sure that they
Fantastic.
are very involved. And the other piece of my update is about the River Improvement Overlay District that we had in front of us a couple of years ago, and we're bringing forth. I think you guys had a presentation.
We have it on the item 4.
Oh, let's just include on number 4 then.
Okay.
That's on number 4, right?
It needs to be
A separate action item?
Or it has this.
Okay. Then we'll hold on tight,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay. Sure.
Do the river, the re-overlay, and we'll call you back on number 4.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Jay Verrata with the CRA. We have been working very closely with your office and the planning department towards implementation of the CASP-specific plan. Unfortunately, our status being a frozen organization due to the stay with the
Right.
Supreme Court.
But you're still here.
I'm still here, and we're
Good.
still pushing to keep
Good.
things moving along. So as soon as the stay is lifted, we anticipate bringing on a consultant team to actually enhance the outreach as we go out and implement our feasibility study for implementation of the redevelopment project area. In the meantime, we will be at the October 15th public meeting. We are planning to participate and provide whatever information we can. A lot of that, though, has not been formulated as we haven't actually begun the key portions of the outreach in terms of what the project area will be doing.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for tenacity, too, hanging in there. Sir? Mr. Su.
Good afternoon, Councilman Reyes.
Sir.
So this is a regular report for the period of July 12th to September 21st, 2011. I'm going to move over one. So
So that was a Riverly gesture.
Wasn't it?
Very courteous.
So I was just going to highlight a few of the items on our regular report. The first item is the LA River Cooperation Committee. This is the partnership with the county, city, and Corps. It's a governmental arm of the governance structure that we laid out in the master plan.
Right.
Our next LARCC meeting is Monday, next Monday, October 3rd at 1 p.m. at the LA County Department of Public Works.
Right.
They'll be hosting at this time. We have 2 projects that will be considered at that
Right.
meeting. The county's North Valley Hard River Walk project which is between Fulton and Coldwater in Council District 2, and the MRCA's Caballero Creek project, which is in Council District 3.
Fantastic. Let me pose something to you, and this is like wishful thinking, right? This is like, I'm completely dreaming here, all right? Let's assume the president now wants to say we can create jobs now. Do we have the kind of relationship in this multi-jurisdictional structure to point to projects that could say we can bring that money in and we can create jobs within months? Is that like conceivable, or should I not ask that question?
I don't know. That's above my pay grade, but I do feel like we have a very good relationship with the county. I think we understand both sides that the importance of the river and the tremendous opportunity that.
But within the staff, we have that level of dialogue in terms of how we can move.
Yes.
As one body, given the multi-layers of jurisdictions.
Yes.
Okay.
I
well,
can't speak for the county, but
no, but
we do on our side.
Again, this is really coming out of left field, but he's in town today, and they're trying to figure out how to create jobs, and there's a lot at stake at this moment. So I think timing is everything right now.
If I may interject, Carol Armstrong, Bureau of Engineering. One great opportunity that we have coming up, which I was going to mention later, is the federal Tiger Grant. And that is a U.S. Department of Transportation grant that our City Department of Transportation is going to be seeking to build out segments of the LA River Bikeway. So we have gotten a lot of support already. 2 members of Congress have already written letters of recommendation for that grant. And that would not only build out about 14 of our LA River Revitalization Master Plan projects, but it would also build out important segments of the city's bike plan, the on-street network through downtown. And just briefly, the project is designed to complete the river bike path from the very beginning of the river all the way to the Sepulveda Basin, around the Sepulveda Basin on the orange line, through Studio City to the red line at Universal City, and then from the river in Elysian Valley through downtown to the Gold Line, Union Station, and the city of Vernon. So that would be huge. And I think that moving forward is a great thing that all of us can get behind as a city,
Right.
asking the federal government for their support, because it is in line with 3 federal initiatives: the Urban Waters Federal Partnership, which is an implementation arm of President Obama's America's Great Outdoors Initiative,
Right.
and also consistent with the Sustainable Communities Initiative of the EPA, DOT, and HUD.
Do you have a guesstimation of how many jobs that would create?
I do not at this time, but I know they'll be asking for approximately $15 to $20 million for that effort.
Okay, that's under the Tiger program.
Yes, the Tiger Discretionary Grant Program. The application is due, the pre-application is due next Monday,
Okay,
and DOT anticipates going before the Transportation Committee of the City Council this Wednesday.
great. Okay, no more left field questions, all right, so go ahead.
It's no problem. So this effort actually highlights one of the efforts we've been working on with the county and the LARCC. That is the master use agreement. So to maintain these segments and to define responsibilities, it kind of elevates and gives us kind of a deadline to push that forward at a more quicker pace than we've been moving.
Great.
Moving on to the U.S. Army Corps and LA River Ecosystem Restoration Study and federal efforts, the LA River Project Office, our office, supported the Mayor's Office in preparing a briefing to introduce the city's LA River efforts to the Corps' South Pacific Commander, Colonel Michael Weir, on August 22nd. And at that meeting, Colonel Weir presented the city with a certificate, acknowledging the importance of the river and our joint partnership.
Great. Does that mean he's going to process the plan quicker?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay. We've been waiting. All right. So the mayor has a certificate?
I'm not sure who has it.
Ramel Pascual received it on behalf of the Mayor's Office.
Great.
The federal funding outlook for the study continues to be short. However, thanks to a $1 million cash contribution from the LA Department of Water and Power, we're continuing to move. We are trying to gauge how far that's going to carry us into this current fiscal year. That is, the fiscal year started October 1st to the next October 1st, the federal fiscal year. And just a brief update on the study. There are a number of activities that are happening on the study now. We have a consultant that is performing the preliminary cross-sections for some of the alternatives. We have a real estate analysis that's happening. We have biological studies that are taking place. And we hope very soon a floodplain analysis.
Great.
So these are all just different pieces of the study.
Yeah, it was good. Keep pushing. Okay.
As part of federal efforts, the Urban Waters federal initiative that I mentioned previously had its national launch. It hasn't had its local launch yet, but the federal government is very excited about sending officials to Los Angeles to make that happen. The U.S. EPA Region 9 Los Angeles office has been the lead. That's John Kemmerer over there, and he's hosted 2 meetings already. And the last one was last week on the 22nd. And out of the meetings, the LA River study has emerged as the #1 priority.
Right.
And what was great is in that group, a lot of the leaders, including Louis McAdams, who's here today, and Carolyn Ramsey from the Trust for Public Land, volunteered to write letters on behalf of the community to the federal government, to the Office of Management and Budget and the Executive Office of the President, and to the Corps to encourage, 1, funding for the study in the President's budget, and 2, that upcoming congressional discretionary funds end up going toward the study. And Omar Brownson from the River Revitalization Corporation is already getting involved in that as well, too.
So those meetings that we had with OMB a year or 2 ago, are those visits that we should reestablish for this?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Because we made our rounds about 2 years ago, and we did another round last year.
That's right.
So
It's
we need
always
to follow
good
up on
to
that.
stay in front of those people, and there's new people there, so that's an excellent suggestion.
Okay, so we'll try to schedule that out somehow. Fit it in somewhere. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, projects. Okay, as far as specific projects, we want to let you know we're really excited about the upcoming round of California River Parkway's grant applications. One good sign is there's a lot of organizations out there that will be submitting applications. One is the Trust for Public Land. They're going to submit another grant for the LA River and Aliso Creek Confluence Project in Reseda. That's Council District 3. The Mountains Recreation Conservation Authority is going to be submitting one for Caballero Creek Confluence. That's the first southerly confluence park draining the Santa Monica Mountains. That is also in Council District 3 on the border with Council District 12. And Larry already mentioned the county's Valley Heart River Greenway. That's actually in Council District 5 from Fulton to Coldwater and Studio City. And then Community Conservation Solutions and the MRCA will be submitting a project for the Los Angeles River Greenway in Council District 2 from Coldwater to Whitsett on the north bank. The City of Glendale's Riverwalk Phase 2 will also be submitting an application, and we're very excited about the LA Conservation Corps' River Heart project that your office has been leading. It's called Helping Everyone Access the River Today, and there's already been site visits out there to identify spots that will make the most sense in terms of signage and river access improvement. So we're excited about that.
Right. Other specific projects are the River Revitalization Corporation's North Atwater Crossing. Our office has been spending some time coordinating with their group to move that forward.
That's the bridge, right?
That's the bridge. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I'm sure you'll hear more about that.
Of course.
later on. The North Atwater Park Expansion and Creek Restoration Project is in construction. It's continuing to move forward. We anticipate a ribbon cutting sometime in the first quarter of next year still. That's still happening.
Have we heard anything from the cities of Pasadena or South Pass regarding the Royal Seco corridor or any work there? Anything? We haven't heard anything from them?
Well, the county has a bikeway on the southern portion between, what was it, Avenue 19 and
Right.
San Fernando Road. But beyond that, I don't know.
Okay, just curious. All right.
And then finally, the Sunny Oak River Park project, we are still waiting for the lease to be executed. I understand that right now there's supposed to be a report that's supposed to be coming forward to council to confirm the Department of Recreation Parks Board decision.
Okay. Okay.
One item of internal coordination that we wanted to bring to your attention is the 5-year update and review of the Integrated Resources Plan. There are 2 significant pieces of that plan that we all need to be coordinating on. One is the Recycled Water Master Plan, and the other is the Stormwater Capture Master Plan. Basically, the Recycled Water Master Plan will determine how much recycled water is allowed into the LA River to support the uses that we want to see in the LA River, including habitat and boating. And the second is the stormwater capture master plan. There will be a lot of projects that will be detaining storm flows upstream of the LA River, which is good for us in terms of that peak flow reduction, but we also want to see some benefits along the LA River so that we have those linear greenway improvements and help build out the priority projects of the master plan.
There's been discussions that pop up every once in a while. We talk about this notion of a rubber dam and holding water in strategic places. You know, I've been focused around the downtown area. Councilor LeBon has been focused around Griffith Park. The equations and or formulas that IRP is contemplating, will that influence our ability to do or to create such opportunities within the canal, or is that really minutia that we need to talk about later?
No, that's absolutely the thing we should be talking about right now, because we need to examine, basically, we need to know what the accurate amount of flow is through the Glendale Narrows area of the river. And once we know that, then we'll be able to determine how much water we need to hold in the river in order to sustain boating and habitat. And rubber dams is one of the ways that we could do that. Anecdotally, there is a way that you could use less water if you could pond it. But more information needs to be found out about that. So now is the time that the Department of Water and Power is going through the Recycled Water Master Plan and the Stormwater Capture Master Plan that we could look into those things.
And the nexus here is that if we look at the Rio, and we look at the CASP, and you start understanding how the land behaves along the river in terms of destinations, ecosystems, places to have a water feature that behaves like a pond or a water body of a type or another that's consistent with the regional network. That nexus and those linkages, I just hope we have in our horizon as we go through that discussion. So let me just get to the point. Do we have that type of dialogue in the discussion of the IRP? Is that in the radar?
I would say it's not where it needs to be yet, and I think that now is the time to really raise it.
So would a letter from the committee and or goals or some form of communication enhance that, or do I leave it to the staff to have that discussion?
Well, so one of the things that we've discussed is to do a motion, kind of to bring it to light so that DWP is aware of that. So
right,
we could draft a motion for that.
We need to literally plant a flag on that issue and just make it a priority for that discussion so it doesn't continue to slip away and, for another time. We need to get traction now, I think, given the momentum that we're in and the potential given the opportunities that can exist. Okay.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you. The last thing I wanted to mention is that the state of California is holding a joint hearing. It's the Senate Subcommittee on Urban Waters, chaired by Senator Fran Pavley, and the Assembly Select Committee on Revitalization of the LA River and Pacoima Wash, chaired by Assemblymember Fuentes. And they have confirmed October 12th, the Wednesday, from 1 to 4 in the afternoon at CBS Studios. They'll be holding the hearing called Revitalization of the Los Angeles River and its San Fernando tributaries.
Great. Could we crash the party?
Of course.
Oh, okay, that'd be
You're
good.
invited.
You're invited.
Okay,
You're on the agenda.
Don't have to crash it. All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
It's not the after party. All right.
That's all we have today.
All right, that's it. Thank you guys for the hard
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
That's a lot of work. Thank you guys. Any other updates, Lupe? Anybody else?
Do we want to have a update? I know Allison just came in
Hey, Allison.
from CRA, and I'm sorry, Allison. Yeah.
Yeah, you had your partner here, so
Okay, thank you. I
you
appreciate
guys can do a
that.
duet if you want.
So for the record, this is Allison Becker. I'm a planner with the Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles in the Hollywood and Central region. I had just a brief update on the NELA Collaborative, which is I'm the project lead for this project that was funded largely by a HUD grant from the Office of Housing and Sustainable Communities. The City Council authorized us to accept this award late last year, and we executed our agreement with HUD in February, have really been constrained in our activities related to the grant given the situation with the state. But we made some real movement, even just within the last week and a half from the time that we submitted our written report. So my apologies for presenting this verbally. But our city attorney, and special thanks to Kelly Martin and our city attorney, Ed Young, looked very closely at the legislation, AB 26 and 27, and came up with a strategy to allow the agency to finalize the contracts which are specifically associated with grant funds that will be reimbursed to the agency from HUD. And we were able to do that by including all of the subcontracts that were identified for program partners. For example, the City Planning Department, the Workforce Investment Board, CDD, and several of our nonprofit and academic partners on our what we call the ESOP list, which is the Enforceable Obligation schedule of payments, payment schedule, enforceable obligation payment schedule, which was considered and adopted by our board on the 18th of this month. According to the state law, the state had 3 days to challenge the list, and a challenge was not filed. So at this point, all of those contracts that are identified on that list are eligible to move forward. I have one final step that, in an abundance of caution, the city attorney has advised for us to file a board report, which we will do on the 6th of October. Essentially providing an update on the alternative deliverable, which we negotiated for in the event that the agency, something happens to the agency and we're unable to adopt a new redevelopment plan, we created an alternative deliverable to the satisfaction of HUD in conversations with our elected offices, and that will take the form of a riverfront district plan, which could actually tease out a lot of the discussion that you were just having about the prior opportunities. And that will happen, like I said, on the 6th of October. So hopefully we'll be poised by our next report to really say that we've hit the ground running. A companion piece of good news was that we applied to the National Park Service's Technical Assistance Program to try and leverage the work that we were doing with this riverfront district plan to really look very closely at recreational opportunities and trying to create an alignment for the De Anza National Trail. Which is generally identified within the river corridor in the Glendale Narrows. And we just received word last week that we were accepted into the technical assistance program, and that will bring another layer of recreational planning expertise to our collaborative team.
And funding, maybe?
Certainly the intent,
Could
the
lead
strategic
to.
intent is to set up a plan that can be funded.
Okay, we continue setting the table then.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. Thank you for that hard work and not giving up there. Does that conclude number one? So we'll note and file our reports. Okay, item number two.
Number 2, CAO quarterly report relative to the status of river projects.
All right, big drum roll. You know, when I talk about the beginning of this effort 8 years ago, I always speak to the fact that we actually put a page in our report, our budget report, and thanks to your hard work. So I want to acknowledge that up front.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Lori Hancock with the CAO. I'm here to present the third status report. It lists projects that the city has undertaken, and the dollars and funding sources are listed in the attachment. The information that's included here is provided by the Bureau of Engineering, Bureau of Sanitation, DOT, and Department of Water and Power. Currently, there are 38 ongoing projects, and they represent just about $1 billion worth of projects, and 18 of these are bridges. In the upcoming year, we expect to spend $68.4 million on various projects, and they include water quality projects, parks and facilities, bicycle paths, riparian system restorations, and the implementation of the master plan.
Great.
So there are also 19 projects included in the report that have been completed for about $97 million. So we're
Beautiful.
Getting some projects done.
We should put that on a big banner somewhere. But thank you very much.
You're
Okay, thank you for that report. So we'll note and file that report. Next item.
Yeah. Number 3, motion Labange Garcetti relative to non-motorized multimodal bridge project connecting the Griffith Park and the river bike path to the north Atwater community-related matters.
Great. So let's come on up. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourselves.
Thank you. Daniel Tlelian, River Corp.
Omar Brownson, ED of River Corp.
Great.
And thanks for coming to our event. We really enjoyed having you there.
Well, thank you for the honor.
Great. So the motion we're here from is regarding the bridge, which is the North Atwater multimodal crossing, which the River Corp is taking the lead in seeking to raise the funds for all the hard construction and diligence around it, as well as play the project management role in ideally constructing a privately financed bridge and then looking to gift it to the city as a new model of development along the river. I believe it was last month, although it may have been 2 months ago now, that Councilman Labange introduced a motion to City Council requesting some level of support for the bridge on the city side. That particularly was a waiver of permit fees, given that this essentially is a public project, some in-kind and otherwise assistance from city departments in helping to make it happen, as well as the naming rights and assuming ownership and maintenance going forward with the bridge. That motion was passed. Thank you for your support, and it's now moving through the committees. And here we are, I believe, our second time here regarding the Ad Hoc River Committee and looking for your support to move this motion along. Specifically, my understanding is at the last committee meeting that there was an inquiry as to looking for an estimate of what would be the financial impact of such a motion, which is important not just here, but at Budget and Finance and other committees as we move forward. I'd like to thank the city family, a number of different departments who've come together collaboratively to try and answer that question in a good faith manner. Bureau of Engineering in particular has taken the lead in corralling all of us and turning over some stones to find that. I believe submitted to the committee was our best estimate to date on what those estimates were. I'm here simply to ask for any questions you might have and be able to answer them, and then look for your endorsement.
In terms of addressing how the council would be posing questions, do we have a ballpark figure as to the maintenance cost and other costs associated to a privately donated bridge?
It certainly depends on the type of bridge, but in terms of ongoing maintenance, we did retain an independent cost consultant who has worked on these same types of bridge, a cable stay design, and asked for a conservative estimate of 10-year maintenance costs so we could at least know what our upper threshold was. And based on that, the conservative estimate was $1 million over 10 years.
Okay. So given these variables, I'm sure Tom and myself will do everything we can to support this effort. But the question really is, and I can hear it already, where is it going to come from? So that's something that we'll have to look into and how we respond to that. I don't have an answer for you. I can't think of an approach yet. Well, I'll speak with Tom and Bernard and the chairman of the Budget and Finance to see what what's real and what isn't. I mean, there's some form of fee attached to using the bridge or some kind of a trust fund. And there has to be a mechanism for this, and or maybe it becomes part of another bridge. I don't know. I mean, but we need to have an answer. But I think this is a great example of how the private sector can be part of a process. And given your patience and tenacity and withstanding everything we got to go through in the city, and you're still here, which is important, that we continue down this road. So I'm looking forward to this thing.
Great, we look forward to it.
To having it happen. In your discussions with BOE, I mean, are we coming up with a figure or not? We do have the report then.
We do.
That's what you're showing me right now? Okay, don't worry. Then I'll look at it, and we should engage one more time. If there's any other questions, I'll let you know before council.
Okay, that'd be great. So, but really quick, there's two types of costs in here. One are staff costs, and that column really just speaks to a reprioritization of some existing resources within the city family to provide assistance and in some levels redundancy in order to fulfill city requirements. And then there's a second piece that is the cash column, which is the more difficult, where are we going to get that money?
Gotcha.
The primary piece is really if the city looks to take the lead on the environmental documentation, what's going on. Then secondly, to your point, is the maintenance, which may or may not come from a recurring stream, philanthropic endowment, or otherwise.
Will this enhance circulation for bicycles?
Absolutely. The intent of the bridge, it's multimodal, is to connect the North Atwater neighborhood to the LA River bike path and then equestrians to the Griffith Park horse trails.
So part of the RTP funding program could be applied here, I would assume.
Potentially.
Okay.
We did receive a letter.
And, okay. I'm just being told that we did get a letter from the Friends of Griffith Park, and they are pleased that the equestrian bridge across the river is being planned on North Atwater after 25 years of efforts. So you've developed a fan base, which is good. That's important. So great. We'll look forward to this. We'll recommend this to council.
Great.
All right. Any other questions, Omar? Anything I want to add?
Not necessarily for this. I don't know if you want a general update on the river.
Yes.
Okay.
But anything else, Danielle?
No, your support is most appreciated, and we look forward to
Okay.
working through this.
Great.
Staff has been great in terms of working with us as well.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Good. Okay, Omar. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Omar Brownson, Executive Director of the LA River Revitalization Corporation. Again, Councilman, thank you for coming to our event. We
Great
had
day.
a lot of fun. We had 25 plus sponsors and really exceeded our fundraising goals, which was great for a new organization coming out the gate. So we appreciated all the support for those that came out. In terms of where we are with projects, you just heard about the bridge. We also received funding from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy to take a lead role in the acquisition of the G2 Taylor Yard project. We're working with your office closely on. We just released a appraisal services a week ago, so we hopefully will be able to retain an appraiser soon to help us get a fair market value, which has changed, I think, dramatically since the last one was done. I just got today from Lincoln Heights Jail a draft for a contract for the city to work on the CDBG funding and put together a feasibility study for that project is moving forward.
You mean you went inside the jail today?
No. We got
Okay, all right.
we got an agreement with the city, a draft agreement with the city
Okay,
to
just-
move forward on the feasibility.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
I'm messing with you.
There's a number of other projects. We were excited to hear that Albion was selected for a site visit. That was one of the projects that we funded the grant writing services for. I was able to move forward on the Prop 84. I'm meeting this week, hopefully, with a company that does zip line services. So we're going to be touring the river, looking at potential locations for that as well.
Wow.
So we've got a number of projects that we're pushing forward at the moment. These are just some of the examples of them. In terms of another metric we're sort of gauging ourselves on is where we are in terms of media and outreach. This week, or 2 weeks ago now, the Los Angeles Business Journal printed an op-ed that we wrote in support of stormwater fees.
Right.
They had written a piece saying that was going to be bad for business. We thought it was actually an opportunity to leverage funds and resources, so we're excited to hear
But for those who are listening,
Mhm.
what is a zip line?
Go back to the one that's exciting.
Councilmember, can we just request that we open up number 5? Because this is actually item number 5. That way, if we have any decisions, we could then
Okay.
move them under 5.
All right, so we'll join both 3 and 5 on
Yeah.
this one. All right.
That way, it's clear for the
Okay.
city clerk.
Do you want to just read 5 on the record real quick?
Sure can. Verbal presentation by the River Revitalization Corporation relative to the status update of their operations.
We could have done this before, but anyway. Okay.
The zip line, again, just sort of building off the momentum of the kayaking program. How can we look at the river as this wonderful stage for urban adventure and tourism? And so the idea is something like a zip line. I wanted it to be from the 6th Street to 7th Street Bridge, but I was told the 6th Street Bridge is coming down, so we'll figure out another place. But somewhere exciting that we can sort of engage again tourism, and to the extent that it also can be a community asset and a ropes course.
For those of us who are over 40 and never been on a zip line, what is a zip line?
It's a cable that you zip down, fly down a section, and you can do multiple. It can just be one long stretch,
With
and you
the
sort of
cable over the river.
There's a higher altitude and a lower altitude, and you draw a
And you
very
hang
long
on.
cable between them.
Hang
and
on for
then
dear
you
life.
put a pulley on it, and you hold on, and you zip at pretty fast speed from one point to the other. So, for example, in Central
but
and
safe.
South America, they take very tall trees and put sort of platforms on top of the trees, and they zip from tree to tree and cruise through the jungle at maybe 100 or 200 feet above the
Don't
ground.
watch out for those gray herons, though, man. Okay.
say for
Wow.
the monkeys or whatever in Amazon
Okay.
forests.
That sounds exciting.
Well,
Good stuff.
so I mean, again, it's just trying to figure innovative ways to continue to build the activity and awareness along the LA River.
Make people believe there's a river, right?
Right. And I think it would be great to coincide it, or to the extent that it could be part of the temporary dam that you mentioned before. So that if you do have this concrete section, if that is filled with water, it again just sort of builds the experience along the river. And so,
Got you.
We'll probably need a few electeds to also test the zip line.
There's got to be a net somewhere. All right. Maybe not.
it's very safe, very safe. Also, just in terms of media, I was interviewed by the Planning Report, which was produced by David Abel's group, and that was released this month. And I think it was in the same edition that they had John Perez, and so it just, and a number of elected officials, the governor. So it was another just sort of place for us to sort of hang our hat in terms of what we're trying to do around infrastructure and economic development.
Good.
In terms of the organization, we're certainly growing. The staff is growing, and we're also looking to grow our board. I think we've submitted a proposal to expand our board, the number of seats. We currently have 9 seats appointed by the City Council. We have 8 filled right now. We're looking to increase the number of board seats by 7. Or 8.
By 8,
By
total
8.
of 17.
Total of 17. Again, as we're sort of building our capacity, we're doing more and more work. I'm stretching our board members to a number of committees already. And also as we look to sort of build our fundraising base, board membership is an important component of that.
Right. Now, in terms of the 8, expanding that number, I would like to have time to speak to my colleagues about that. There are quite a few that have been involved in this committee over the years, and I need to have that conversation with them for all the reasons that exist. But there's been several council members on this committee that have been part of the heavy lifting, and as you can see, they're not here now, but there's a whole range of council members that have been here throughout the years, and I'd really like to take bases with them before I go to that point, at least on that request, if you don't mind. Again, it's about communication and support and creating the environment that we need that's cooperative and within a cooperative spirit. So that's something I hope you could understand.
Do you want to continue for next month?
Yes,
Okay.
number 5, because again,
Just in recognition of obviously all the city support and other support that we've gotten, it was somewhat intentional on our part to select 8, so that way the 9 folks that were appointed were still a majority of the board.
Right.
And so it kind of showed deference to all the city has done
Right.
as we continue to build our capacity.
You know, but this process is about relationships and understandings and mutual respect, and that's what I need to demonstrate with my colleagues, and taking that step. Okay.
Great.
So we'll continue that item for the next meeting. So on item, are we okay with 4?
5. It was 5.
3.
That was 3 and 5, right?
3 and 5, yeah.
3 and 5.
So 3 we can recommend to the council,
So approve 3
yeah.
and
Approve 3.
continue 5.
5.
unless you have anything else to add on 5.
No?
No? Okay? All right, thank you, guys. Thank you so much
Oh,
for your hard
speaker
work.
part, there's a speaker card on 3.
Okay. Okay, here we go. On item 3, we have with us, thank you, gentlemen, Marion Dodge. Before we act on this, Marion, are you here? Hello, Ms. Dodge. No problem. Oh, my goodness. Keeping you busy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Marion Dodge of Friends of Griffith Park. And Friends of Griffith Park is very pleased that an equestrian bridge across the LA River is being planned in North Atwater after 25 years of efforts. The bridge is currently proposed to be a multimodal equestrian, pedestrian, and bicycle bridge. At the LA River Cooperation Committee meeting on April 4th, Gary Hildebrand, the Assistant Deputy Director of the LA County Flood Control District, pointed out the fact that there's no bike path on the east side of the river. Bikes are already on the opposite side. So why is the bridge being proposed for bicycles? Bikes have access to cross the river at Los Feliz Boulevard, but horses have no such option, obviously. The design of the bridge could be greatly simplified if it accommodated only horses and pedestrians who are compatible. The bridge would not have to be so wide. It could be completed in a more timely and more economical manner. And Friends of Griffith Park would like to be a participant in the public review process for the Atwater Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dodge. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll work through that issue. So that takes care of 3 and 5.
5, now we have 4.
Okay, come on back. We could have done both of them at one time, but I apologize for that.
That's okay. In the meanwhile, I got to hear about some great projects that are going along the river. So
Good.
again, Claire Bowen, Los Angeles Department of City Planning. In my absence at your, I believe, your August meeting, Jane Choi from the City Planning Department provided this committee with an update on what we're proposing is for the revised versions of the Los Angeles River Revitalization Improvement, Los Angeles River Improvement Overlay District, as well as the changes to the proposed River Improvement Overlay District, which is the supplemental, which is the ordinance that, kind of the enabling ordinance that would allow us then to adopt future kind of RIOs. So since that presentation in August, we have finalized the environmental documents will accompany each of those different ordinances. We're proposing a negative declaration for the LA Rio, and then a categorical exemption, as we had originally had done for the enabling ordinance. So those will hopefully be released within the next week to the public. The department has a kind of a 90-day new process they've established for code amendments. We'll be following that procedure, which hopefully will put us in front of City Planning Commission back in January 12th of 2012.
Okay.
So coming up.
So we look at this, the overlay. I know we've lost about 40% of the planning staff in the past year or two. This has taken, we're close to 3 or 4 years now, right?
Right. We had the ordinance that came forth through our planning commission a couple of years ago, and then subsequently on to this committee as well as Plum, and then on to council, and it went to the city attorney's office for review of form and legality, and they had unfortunately a number of questions about kind of we had taken probably a novel approach to the establishment of the LA Rio with the guidelines and the various point systems, and they were concerned that it was going to create a fairly cumbersome process and that it wasn't as clear as they wanted to see, especially kind of in the interest of kind of development reform and making things much clearer. And so they asked us to kind of take a look at it again. It took us a while, again, with that staffing reductions, to have the time to renew that. So we think we have something that meets the initial spirit of the original versions of the LA Rio and the Rio, because we didn't want to go back and lose all the great effort that we had had in conversations with the community. We still wanted to be able to accomplish the same things, but we needed a new way of structuring it so that it met the city attorney's concerns. So we think we've satisfied that with these new versions.
So, as an example, an entity wants to come and takes over 2 or 3 parcels and wants to put a new development. Unbeknownst to them, there's a river master plan, and they want to build a typical backside that faces the river. And this overlay is going to raise the red flag and say, consider alternative designs because we want you to recognize the river and have these types of urbanscape amenities that enhance its presence and its relevance to the community?
It'll do a few things. It will put a Rio suffix on all the properties in this first Rio, which is the LA River. So if a project was being developed, they would be flagged immediately. So they would know really upfront that they have to follow the Rio standards. So the Rio standards for any project, whether you're by right or discretionary, a project in the area would have to make sure that any landscaping they did in their project area was native. And if you were very close to the LA River, you would have to also make sure those native plants were appropriate for a river setting. You also would have to make sure that your lighting was not disturbing kind of any of the habitat in the area. You'd also make sure that you're screening air conditioners and trash and things like that. So those are kind of just the standards for all projects. If you're a discretionary project, so if you, as you mentioned, if somebody was coming in and assembling 2 or 3 parcels and you were having to come in front of the planning department, you would then have an additional set of things you're having to do, which are the LA River guidelines that we'll be asking the Planning Commission to adopt as part of this whole process. Those guidelines then get much more get into the kind of issues like you were just describing about making sure that projects are not turning their back on the river, asking them to put basically some kind of secondary front door on the river and making sure that they're acknowledging the river, making sure that we're not putting parking, right there or screening it. Mm-hmm. That's the opportunity we have to kind of address those kind of broader issues.
Okay. Now, given the work of the River Corporation and knowing that they are also in tune with being opportunistic with how development can evolve, is there a way to trigger that communication with the River Corporation, with Bureau of Engineering, that this is on the horizon, that we've got interest to address X parcel? Is there a way to give people an alert that this is... Because what occurred recently, in the past year, is that a development came in and they said we have, by right, we can do what we want because we're entitled, and they moved. And in light of everything else we're doing, it fell in the face. Well, it was just basically ignoring everything we were doing here. And legally, they had every right to do that. I mean, that's just the way the law works in the general plan. So are we in a place yet to figure out how do we create that alert and communication to minimize those types of experiences?
I mean, unfortunately, until the actual LA Rio is formally established, there isn't an opportunity to have that alert system kind of in place. Although projects that are coming in front of that are happening are on our public list, and so you can just look at that list on a regular basis and see what projects are occurring.
Okay, so we need to get there, in other words.
Correct.
All right. So what's the time frame to...
Well, hopefully Planning Commission January 12th.
And
That's
then
the
to
90
council?
As quickly, hopefully within the few weeks after that. We can just turn it around and get to committee.
The first couple of months in 2012.
Yes, and then just keep our fingers crossed.
Better
with the
than
attorney's office.
2013. I appreciate that. That's a lot of work. So I appreciate it. I know you were standing there flailing away with making sure it got done, so I appreciate that very, very much.
No
I know
problem.
that
Thank
took
you.
a lot. So that's a note and file as well?
And that one is just to recommend going forward with that.
Okay.
With the recommendation from the planning department.
Okay. And so that's what we'll do. Councilor Labange. It's good to see you, sir. So does that cover all the items?
We have announcements and the second
Announcements.
page.
Okay, do you have any other cards?
No other,
No, you're just in time for announcements, though. That's good. I want to thank you. We worked through the issues of the bridge. We'll move that forward. I know that was very important to you.
Thank you.
And we did have some questions, and hopefully we'll have them answered before council. All the other items were moved forward. We had great reports.
You want to re-vote them so it becomes unanimous?
Yes. Can we put them back all for a vote?
Sure can.
Okay, so I want to go through each item, and we have a second, and we'll move those as a recommendation.
Number 1 and 2,
recommend
note and file.
to approve
Number
the
3,
recommendations.
approve the motion.
approve the recommendations in the letter.
Number 4 as well, approve.
I move, is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 5,
Okay.
continue.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Number 5,
I was near
continue.
the river, Mr. Reyes. I was at Dolores' Hope's wake. And should you be so lucky, there are 4 children. All 4 live to see their parents live to be 100 years old. So I apologize for being late.
No. That was a Riverly Act.
Okay.
Okay. So that being said, we do have some announcements, and just really quick. The Ad hoc River Committee will be scheduled for October 24th. The meeting will focus on results of non-motorized boating program. 2, the CASP IR and update meeting October 15th, as stated, at 12 noon at the Goodwill Center. Hopefully you can see the flyer that's been handed out. 3, Albion demolition ceremony for Albion Park project will be held on September 29th at 1 p.m. at the Downey Rec Center location. So that's a big one. 4, Chair of the Senate has been stated. Senate Subcommittee on Urban Rivers, Senator Fran Pavley, and Chair of the Assembly Select Committee on the Revitalization of the Alley River and Pocono Wash, Senator Felipe Fuentes, will be having their hearing. That'll be on October 12th at 1 to 4 at CBS Studio Center, Building 8, Room Number 3, 4024 Radford Avenue, Studio City. You can enter at Gate A. So the hearing will focus on the valley's portion of the 51-mile-long river. All is invited. So, Councilor Bonds, any other pearls of
Couple
wisdom?
things, for those of you who are Southern California Automobile Club's members, it's their magazine came out. You got a copy of it?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you see it, Ed?
No, I haven't.
It's beautiful. You got it right there?
No, I thought
I
did.
didn't want to be late, but the cover is a beautiful art of the river.
Stafford.
And then page 40 is like a 5-page section there. And Lewis McAdams is quoted in it, which is always good to see that, I believe. And then also I wanted to report in that Fritz said it may rain this weekend. So I'm telling everybody I know to go see the river now because it's its most pristine time. The cleanups that have been done over the course of time, usually in the spring, has now transformed through the summer, and the the plastic has been dissolved by the sun.
Right.
That's one good thing the sun does, but it's somewhere, that plastic. But the river's beautiful.
Yes.
And I think this is the last time we had this committee meeting. I just returned from Munich.
Right.
We have a sister relationship with the Izar River, and a wonderful job, and we want to get Dr. Armstrong there to learn how we get that much river. Their river, if we have 1% of the water, they have 99% of the water, but it's very powerful, but it's very good. And if they learned from us when they came here 4 years ago, mostly about the community process, I think, more than anything. But Lewis McAdams, you had your hand up. And
Come on up. Come on up, please.
yeah.
Well, you have a microphone. You can do this.
I couldn't live without a microphone. I just brought some copies of the EZAR plan pamphlets. For Tom and I and Shelley Backlar that were there, it was really inspiring. I mean, we were there for the celebration of the completion of the 8.5 kilometers of the restored river through the city, and we were the day that happened. There was 80,000 people gathered along the river, which was.
How many miles is the 8.5 kilometers?
8.5 kilometers.
Well, the 10K is a 5-point-something miles.
6.1.
Hey, Max, tell us.
6 miles.
It's 6.1 miles, 10
Okay.
6.1 miles.
But it's all through the heart of the city, and there were, we passed by where they were barbecuing a grouper, a huge 30-pound grouper that had been caught in the river right underneath the bridge through the heart of the city. People were cooling their beers in the river. There were people swimming, including Councilman Labange.
Oops.
No, I look good, you know.
He looked good.
It was root beer.
But and one of the things that was shocking to me was that there was no discussion. That's open 24 hours a day. There's no discussions of insurance. People by the thousands in the water, and water that's 7 or 8 feet deep. I mean,
It moves fast.
Does it function as a flood control at any time?
That's the money to make this happen, which I think is about 35 million euros, was basically all flood detention money to expand flood detention in the city and in the state of Bavaria. So they're ahead. They constructed it for 11 years. One of the planning guys said, basically it took 10 years to come up with the idea, 10 years to convince everybody else, and 10 years to build it. And
I don't have that kind of time. With term limits here, come on now. We got 18 months left.
I'm just a reporter, I'm just telling you what it was. But they were aided immeasurably by this guy who's a deputy mayor, who's a Green Party mayor, who's been a deputy mayor for 15 years. They got him on his Zeder. So they've had that kind of continuity at the top of the government structure in Munich.
Interesting.
It was humbling, but it was very inspiring at the same
80,000 people on the Sunday of celebration.
It was amazing.
Which was amazing. And,
bicycling and jogging and swimming and fishing.
Now you're making me jealous. Now I wish I was there.
You should see it.
You got to go.
You
got 18 months to go.
But
Thank you,
so I have some copies
Right.
of this pamphlet that they've just put out in English about what they've done, and it's.
Well, thank you, Louis, for your good spirit and your information, and you keep inspiring as we move along. And I thank everybody in the audience for their faith and their support for this great process.
And I know we did this in City Council, but I think it's the first time in the River meeting. The most famous race in the river was that in the movie Grease. And she was born and lived on Doris Place. Her parents, she went to Doris Place Elementary School, Irving Middle School, John Marshall High School, later educated New York University. But Annette Cordona, who was the actress who played Chacha Di Gregorio in the movie Grease, tragically succumbed to cancer in a 6-week battle. But she loved the river. She participated with us on many civic events, including the one when the mayor of Munich was there. And it was nice to have a little movie star with us, which was great. But I wanted, since you're in the meeting, to remember her blessings today.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for that. And again, I always appreciate your support. Thank you. With that, we conclude this meeting. Look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.